So, John, you know what I realised?
What did you realise, Lee?
For the past 3-4 episodes, we've never really promoted ourselves.
No, that's actually very true. Might explain the low number of views that we have.
To be fair, I'm not much of a promoter.
Well, I don't think either of us are really, in all fairness. But
Yeah.
but what did you have in mind to promote ourselves here, Lee?
Well,
Let's go
might as
with
well go for old school. My name's Lee. My Twitter handle's Blank the Mage.
Yes.
We have a podcast called My Friend John, which has a Twitter, which is My Friend John Pod.
Yes, and it's also on it's on iTunes, isn't it? I believe.
Oh yeah, iTunes, bloody Spotify, everything really.
It's on everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you can find us everywhere. I tell you what, as well, you'll have to forget because we are technically still starting out, aren't we?
Yeah.
And
Been a
as
few
we
months.
go on, we'll get better at it, and we'll get better at promotion. And I tell you what, you folks will be able to find us everywhere as we already are. But you'll see us more notable, I think, as well, and and a bit more in your face as well. And also myself, I'm John Lewis. On my Instagram handle is _new wave, because I don't believe in Twitter.
Yeah, it doesn't exist to him.
It doesn't. No. As Noel Gallagher said once, the world doesn't need to know what coloured socks I have on. As irrelevant as that statement is, I stand by it, and here we are today. It's good to be back, Lee.
Yes, it is.
It certainly is.
But yeah, I noticed recently when we're going back through them, we never really promote ourselves. I know I made that thing on YouTube and stuff that has each 3 of our
Yes. Yeah.
But then there's people probably listening to it not on YouTube because again, it's everywhere.
That is true. I mean, if anyone knows or has me on Facebook or whatever, that's the only place where I really promote it. And I really should put it other places as well.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing is, I run a marketing company with two friends of ours, and you're a part of it.
Yeah.
Technically too as well. So it's as part of the production team. So it's crazy. I don't really know how to use
how do we market ourselves?
How do we market ourselves?
We can market other people, but not ourselves.
That's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I tell you what. But on having said that, I think it's I would personally like to take the opportunity to thank anyone who's actually taken the time to listen to us ramble on, talk about stuff that maybe you can't relate to, or maybe you can. Who knows? But I do hope, though, in saying that if you have enjoyed Lee and myself talk about something that may be potentially obscure to you, whether it was My Hero Academia or any
number of bands that I've introduced you to,
numerous bands that I've listened to.
Maybe Lord of the Rings. Maybe Lord of the Rings is obscure.
Maybe it is. Imagine what world is Lord of the Rings obscure? But no, I know what you mean though. If you haven't bothered to venture into anything that we've been talking about, but if you decided to then do that as a result of us talking about it, and if you've been attained by us talking and taking the time to listen to any number of length, that sentence doesn't make any sense, but if you've bothered to listen to us, no matter how long or short, on any of the episodes, I'd like to sincerely thank you, because that really helps us out, and it really makes I think it makes both of our days.
Yeah, I just like people to listen to us.
Exactly, and I hope that we've brought any number of any level of joy to your day, because I know it's a difficult time, I think, still for some people.
Yeah.
Well, it is any time of the day, really, isn't it? Life isn't easy, Lee.
Yeah, no.
But life can also be quite good, and I hope that we are contributing it to being good. This was the most broken soliloquy that I've just delivered of gratitude towards people listening to us, but I sincerely hope you have enjoyed it, and thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, I hope people, when we talk about stuff, maybe look into it, because that's kind of what I want, because
it's the purpose, isn't it? Really?
Opposite of a gatekeeper, it's a gate opener.
Yeah. Well, it's precisely what I'm experiencing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, legitimately, I've not listened to or watched any of the stuff that Lee makes me watch, or consume or whatever. I genuinely haven't experienced any of it. So when you're hearing my thoughts, it is a legitimate, oh my,
Yep.
Sorry, just for context, a packet of water just fell over.
Yeah. Ghosts.
Ghosts, literally.
Ghost hunting with John and Lee.
Literally.
My friend John Ghost.
That's a good idea.
My Ghost John. What?
My Ghost John friend. That's a good idea, actually. We should go ghost hunting one episode.
I would love to do that.
That'd be very good. But yeah, when you hear me talk, it is just my own unfiltered thoughts
Yeah.
on what we're talking about. And as well, while we're mentioning it, if you hear any other random noises like that,
There's
like
a
that
cat in
thud,
here.
Lee's cat Oscar and his dog Bailey have decided to join us in the studio.
Oh,
I
Oscar's
guess
gone.
Oscar's just left the room. Never mind. In Lee's office / studio, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, just good vibes, man, as George Harrison once said. You know.
Yeah. But yeah, should we get started then, properly?
Let's get started.
Lord of the Rings. That's all I'm going to go for. Two Towers.
Oh god, Two Towers. Yes. So following on from last week's episode, after I watched Fellowship of the Ring, I quite enjoyed Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fantabulous romp into the world of fantasy. And I think I mentioned as well that I can easily see that Lord of the Rings is quite obviously the most influential work of fantasy fiction I think that's been.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things that, like, unrelated things that I mentioned that, as well as going off on total random tangents about other things, that Lord of the Rings has clearly influenced, and not only in terms of like just aesthetics and just general like fantasy stuff. You know, it's plot.
Yeah.
Like it's plot. Like this whole quest to destroy something. Or quest to accomplish, like any kind of MacGuffin
The
quest.
hero's journey.
The hero's journey, basically. But specifically the hero being an unlikely hero.
I mean,
like,
this was written before the hero's journey
was
even
like a legitimate plot thread thing in film,
Yeah. a
or like
theory.
a
Was
theory.
it?
But yeah, like in narrative theory.
Yeah.
That's it. But you know, it's but yeah, again, I really enjoyed it. It's still, this is not a thing with me. I'm still not really a fantasy guy per se. You know, I still I kind of look past the whole you know, the fantasy element of it, like, and not, you know, I didn't really like absorb it as much, you know, as say some other people would. I don't get really into the whole like dragons and wizards and shit like that, you know. But I have to say the plot really engaged me. It was the characters that really engaged me, and I think that's the main thing, you know. Just looking at how Bilbo Baggins, like this sweet innocent man, is like Hobbit, I should say, is affected by this incredibly corrupting force of nature, you know, which is the ring. And it's you know, an evil corrupts. That's another like great metaphor and a theme that runs through the first film and definitely comes into this second one.
Oh god, yeah.
You know, and so yes, I enjoyed Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know if I'm a you know, a taken official Lord of the Rings fan, because I've just watched the second one. It's still fresh. I watched it over the course of 2 nights.
Yeah.
Because it is the extended editions that you are giving me to watch.
Yes.
And I mentioned this to our producer friend, Will Smith. Not the Will Smith, I have to mention again.
A. Will Smith, but our Will Smith.
A. Will Smith, our Will Smith. He was like, "Oh, John, what you doing? You should just be watching the regular editions. The extended editions, that's too much, man. That's too much. God, Jesus, fuck it." You know? And that's obviously, Will, if you are listening, I'm sorry, but that is how you talk. But he was like, no, you shouldn't be watching the extended editions. You should be watching the normal editions. I was like, well, you know, I've already watched the extended edition of the first one, so it's only right that I watch.
Yeah, keep it going.
Keep it going, exactly. So
and if you're never going to watch them again, you might as well watch the entire lot of it.
Well, true. I mean, I might come back. Oh, I've just hit the mic. I might come back. Who knows? But it's you know. But yes, I watched it over the course of 2 nights, which because last time I watched Fellowship of the Ring, the extended edition, all in one day.
Yeah.
And that was a bit hefty.
Oh, wait until you get to the marathon of watching all of them in one day.
How do people do that?
I've done it with the regular ones.
Oh, I understand it with the regular ones. That's not too bad.
That's about 9-ish hours.
9 hours, yeah.
But then with the extended, I think it's about 13.
That's too much. That is too much, man. Like, I could not do that. Like, I mean, I understand people. I know people who've done the Lord of the Rings marathon, and they've done like the regular like 9-hour version of it. But can you imagine? Oh, come on, like that's just too much, man. That's just too much. But it was so yeah, I watched it over the course of 2 nights. Watched the first half, which was about an hour 40. The first half, and then the second half, it's like 2 hours. Like I was like, oh my god, you know. So my thoughts on Two Towers. It's a bit of an odd one, this one. Because I felt myself going. Well, for a start, it's dark.
Yes.
This is very dark.
Yeah.
It's so much darker than I was expecting it to be. You know, it's just like what was these Pippin and Helen or whatever they're called?
Mary and Pippin.
Mary and Pippin.
Mary
and Pippin. All right, okay. Helen. I don't,
Where Helen come
I don't know. Helen. You know,
Helen and Pippin. Yeah.
Helen and Pippin. Like their whole thing. Like when they're being like captured by the orcs, and the orcs are really like quite like the orcs are really quite vile in this one.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're really in your face. They're really, you know, they're horrible to
Helen.
Horrible to Helen and Pippin. Merry and Pippin. I'm gonna really try hard to call them by his proper name. They're really awful to Merry and Pippin. Just like plunging that stuff in his mouth, which is the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh my goodness me.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot more hand cutting in this one. There's a lot more decapitation in this one.
There's a lot of decapitation.
A lot of decapitation. They love cutting off people's heads.
Yeah. That's like Peter Jackson's gross out thing, really, isn't it?
Well, that's it. It's what we mentioned last week. He loves gross out stuff, and you can see it in King Kong, and it's very prevalent in some places, especially in this film as well. You feel evil a lot more in this one, which is what drew me to make the comparison when I was watching. I was thinking, this is just Empire Strikes Back. Really, it's very similar to Empire Strikes Back in that sense of like. You establish all of the leading characters and the villain and the plot and the quest and the thing in the first film, like Fellowship of the Ring, like Star Wars, and you see the beginnings of the hero's journey and all of the side characters. You know, like and you see some of the side characters like sort of like coming into their own, like a similar one with Aragon. Like Aragon doesn't initially want anything to do with it in the beginning, and then he gets invested and steps up as a leader, very much like Han Solo, you know, that sort of thing. But you know, it was yeah. So Empire Strikes Backy, yes, because you see, I mean, Saruman, he's quite. You know, he's
Sith Lordy.
He's very Sith Lord. Well,
I mean, he was a Sith
Lord.
He was a Sith Lord.
He was a Sith Lord.
About the same time as well.
Exactly. Around about exactly the same time. That was his like second revival in his career, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or like third or something like I don't know. But I love that. I love when actors like bring themselves forward to a new generation of people. That's great. You know, and Christopher Lee are clearly having a blast. But Saruman makes some awful decisions in this. You know, of course, like, because the whole thing of him, he's heard rumours of, like, the heir of, whoever, like, basically Aragon.
Yeah.
Is gonna appear and, become the King of Man and stop all the evil, you know, is what my basic understanding of it is.
Yeah.
So, of course, Saruman's like, well, I'm just gonna kill everyone. So that'll do it, surely?
Yeah. I'll get him eventually.
Again, we'll get him eventually. If we kill all of mankind, then we'll sort it out, won't we?
Yeah.
Great solid plan. It works. Doesn't work, obviously. Which gives birth to a lot of the action in this film. So yeah, very dark, very action packed.
Yeah.
A lot more so than the last one. I think that's where a lot of its strengths lie. I felt conflicted.
Yeah.
During this, I don't know how I feel about Two Towers. I'm not sure if I like it. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think I'd have to watch it again.
Is it my theory on the awkward middle one?
It's yeah, it might be, but I was quite surprised, really, to be honest with you, because it's like sometimes the middle one is the best one. Sometimes, you know, it's like you can make the argument with the Star Wars original trilogy, like Empire Strikes Back, is the best one, objectively speaking, in the Star Wars original trilogy. I think you could easily say the same thing for the sequel trilogy as well.
Are we going down that path again
No,
right now?
Let's leave it there. We'll leave it there. But I've already said my piece on The Last Jedi, and I won't say it again. Spider-Man 2, best one out of the trilogy.
Yeah, the Raimi ones.
Of the Raimi films. Godfather Part 2, arguably, I don't know. Dark Knight, definitely.
Oh yeah, Dark Knight was insanely popular.
Yeah,
compared to the other two.
exactly, and it was very much the best one out of that trilogy. I think so. I don't think of other trilogies as well. That warrant that same thing, but I don't know. It's an odd one, but yeah, this one was odd because I think in some ways it's very good.
Yeah.
Because it advances the plot slightly forward, because I think that's you see a lot more. Well, I say plot, it's more of the actually no, it's not plot, it's more of like the character. This is a character development movie
Yeah.
for me, and it was very much in a kin of like, here is what we really see evil doing, because in the first film you kind of get a flavor of it. You see the orcs sort of coming out and doing their bastardry, and Saruman just throws everybody under the bus. But there's still a general hopeful adventure-y tone to the film.
Yeah.
Here it's like, I think, and when you see Gollum,
Yeah.
Gollum is the big thing in this.
Yes.
Really. Let's touch a bit on that. It's now the CGI has not aged well. That is the first thing that I remember thinking. It's like which is odd, because in the first film the CGI I think has aged quite well. Especially when I was talking about the when they were fighting the big troll orc thing in the cavern or whatever it was. That still looks quite good. The big fiery beast thing, which you've told me the name of several times.
Balrog.
The Batrog.
The Balrog of Morgoth.
The Balrog of Morgoth still looks quite good. Gollum, however, and now because Jar Jar Binks still looks decent-ish, like several years later.
Okay, yeah, I can see what you mean. He still looks believable in that universe.
As a CGI character, yes. And it's the same with the rest of things like that. But of course, Phantom Menace was 2 or 3 years prior to this. And Gollum he doesn't look terrible, but he looks considerably noticeable that this is a fully rendered CGI character. That being said, however, Andy Serkis is tremendous.
Oh god, yeah.
He's absolutely wonderful in this role, because he did the voice as well, didn't he?
Yep, did the voice and the mocap.
Did the voice.
I think he was originally going to do the mocap, but he started doing these little weird things, and they were like, "That's the voice."
That is the voice of Gollum, and it was just wonderful. I'm not even going to attempt to do an impression of Gollum, because I know that I'd do it a disservice. But and plus I need to work it out as well.
Yeah.
But why wasn't he nominated for an Oscar?
Was he not?
I don't think he was. No. Because it's like, this is another ongoing argument that we had in university, actually, now that I think about it, is motion capture. About motion capture actors. Are they totally the authors of these creations? And I remember some people were saying, well, no, it's largely down to the artists and the CGI creators, who they're the ones who physically created Gollum, and rendered him and everything, and added all these movements and characteristics and facial expressions and all.
Did
that
win
sort of
Academy
stuff.
Award for Best Visual Effects.
Oh well, there we are then. That makes sense for 2002, which this film came out in. But Andy Serkis is still giving a performance here.
Yeah.
He and I think he has said this himself, that the CGI artists are fully responsible for it or something like that. I don't think they're fully responsible, because as that debate goes, there is a great degree of work that the post-production artists do in order to bring this character to life. That being said, however, Andy Serkis, you can see his physical movements, you can see his performance, you can see his facial expressions, you can hear his voice. It's there, and and Gollum wouldn't be there if it wasn't for that initial performance that Andy Serkis gives.
Yeah,
because you can see it. It's just really what he's got on is digital makeup.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, in a sense.
He ran around with the old stuff, so it was the suit with the balls on it, so just track him. Yeah, just ran around with that.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a wonderful, wonderful performance. because you can see him like doing his split personality thing, like talking to the
That scene, yeah, when he's talking to himself, it flips the camera.
and genius, absolutely genius, because it fucks with your brain, because it's such a it's probably breaking some filmmaking rule.
Oh yeah, it's the 180 rule.
It breaks the 180 rule completely.
But it makes it look like he's talking to someone.
Yes, exactly. Like it works so well for like what they're trying to accomplish. It demonstrates perfectly visually that he is having an utter turmoil in his brain.
Yeah.
With these two conflicting sides of his personality. And when Gollum turns up, he's creepy and he's off-putting and he's awful, and he's scary and his voice this thing. But oh my god, I felt so sorry for him. Like, he gets beaten up like so much in this movie.
He's a punching bag.
Like, he's a punching bag, like he gets beaten up, he gets like kicked around, he gets thrown, he cowers from people, and he's like
in the first movie he was tortured.
And in the first movie he's absolutely tortured, and it's like you don't see him, obviously, you see his hands, but like but it's so heartbreaking, and I'm like, the poor guy, I mean, I know that like he's corrupted by the ring of it, and he just wants the ring back, and and all sorts, and he's completely mentally shattered, but it's like, he's got like a level of humanity there buried underneath it, and he just wants, and he's like, oh, the master wouldn't do this, he's my friend, like he looks after us, and he's like, he's not your friend, nobody likes you. And it's like, oh, it's really awful. I felt so bad for him. I really, really felt sorry for him. He's getting strangled all the time by that bloke at the end, and thrown up against a wall and saying like, oh, if you he's not doing anything, just leave him alone.
Fish in the pool is nice and cool.
Yeah, literally, when he's in the pool, he's just vibing, just having a swim, and it's like, and he's like, oh, he didn't mean, and he's limping at the end, like he's crawling because he's really because he's hurt, I'm like, oh, he didn't mean, like everyone's just beating him up and hurting him and stuff. I'm like, just leave him alone, it's really cruel, so I'm like, justice for Gollum, justice for Gollum, leave the poor bugger alone, stop hitting him, stop beating him up.
John the Gollum apologist.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, like we didn't know what we were doing at the time. We thought we were being, like patriotic and good for the nation of, defending
of
Middle Earth, defending them against like horrible creatures. But little did we know they were just trying to survive and just wanted a friend at the end of the day and just wanted the bloody ring back, which we took off them, which we took off him unjustly, and going off to destroy it. But it was his at the end of the day. And who knew that Lord of the Rings is a big metaphor for colonialism? But no, no. Of course, I am only jesting, ladies and gentlemen, but not really. There is a clear parallel there, perhaps. Who knows? But I don't think so. No, but it was horrible what they did to Gollum, and I really felt sorry for him, despite the fact that he may be a potential villain.
Yeah.
No, he's straight up yes. But I just felt so bad for him. And there's clearly conflict within him.
Yeah.
And I think that's worthy enough of some sympathy, even if he is a bit of a lunatic.
Yeah.
You also see like that evil starting to corrupt Frodo.
Yeah.
Frodo starts to fall a bit to the dark side here. Not to bring in another famous science fiction franchise there. It's weird. Because things are starting to fall apart in this movie.
It's that scene near the end where he's like, he's here, and then he just walks up really slowly, with the ring.
Yep.
And seductively just like,
Oh, I think that's a metaphor.
Send that gift to your girl.
Oh, God. Oh, and just for context, Lee just made a very suggestive...
Putting the ring on the finger.
Yes, absolutely. And he just gave me a little look in the eye there as he did that. It was
I didn't blink.
It was very saucy. I loved it. But yeah, exactly. It's you can see it corrupting him. You can see him you can see it, turning him, into this, towards this stuff that is ultimately going to damn everybody, and that's where the obvious theme of there that love will conquer all. And ultimately defeat evil. You see that with Sam, bloody Sam
Good
is
old
the
Sam.
Ham is the hero of this movie. You know, he really is the one character who's like carrying it forward, and he's not just a tactless like companion.
Yeah.
You know, he really is. He loves Frodo.
Oh yeah.
You know, as I said this in the last episode before, it's actual love.
You know what? There was the day we filmed the last one.
Uh-huh.
There was a thing trending on Twitter where some guy was like talking about how like if Lord of the Rings made today, Frodo and Sam would be gay, and everyone's just like,
Well, they are.
like,
Yeah, absolutely.
of course you can read it like that. Like,
Well, of course. I mean, like, in a
I said that last time.
Well, I think I'm gonna give this guy the benefit of the doubt here, and play devil's advocate and say, you know, maybe what he's getting at is they would be an overtly gay couple, where it would be very on the nose.
To be fair, the guy had a lot more bad takes. I can't remember what they were, but that was the one that was trending, which I thought was funny because we talked about.
We
like,
talked about it, exactly, yeah, exactly. But like it would be a very on the nose, like
But
like,
apparently their relationship was based off like kind of allegory for like war buddies. Like being friends with someone that close and like all the shit going on, you really do get like a close relationship. Apparently,
sure.
I haven't been to war.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, they are war films in a sense as
Yeah.
well, you know. And I'll get onto that as well, which are another themes that came through. No, but you can certainly see that they are war buddies. They are the best of friends, and I do think there is an actual love there.
Yeah.
There is a definite love there. But I mean, if it were made today, yes, they would be an overtly. Well, I say, like, it would be very obvious that they are like a gay couple, and obviously that's great. But I think the strength in this film is that it's not obvious and it's not overtly in your face. There's nuance to it and there's subtlety to it.
It's a thing that
you know,
I remember,
which I think is more profound.
Mark Hamill saying, talking about like if people asked if Luke Skywalker was like gay or queer code or something like that, and he was just like, it's not how I played it, but if that's how you see him, then he is.
Well,
like,
exactly, yeah. It's interpretation. It's
yeah.
it's that's what I mean. I think it's so much more interesting when it's not so on the nose. It's like, I mean, how can you tell? You know, I mean, Luke Skywalker is not a character who's really preoccupied with that. It's really a character.
The only on-screen kiss he had
is with his sister, which is which is something else entirely. You know, hey, look, whatever floats your boat, man. You know, I'm not. Should we? No, let's not do that. Let's not go into that route. But no. And that's exactly right. I mean, I completely agree with him. It's entirely how you perceive things to be, and for me, it's like, for me, the bit that drove that home even more. I mean, even more so than Sam running after him in the river to catch up with Frodo because he is willing to risk his life to support his friend and be there for him. When he stops Frodo, when Sam stops Frodo from going towards the black rider on the dragon thing, he's about to put the ring on him, and he stops him and rugby tackles him to the ground, and Frodo's about to knife him with a sword. He's about to sword him with a sword.
He's about to sword him.
Yeah, he is. Metaphorically speaking. Holy shit! I've just realised the phallic symbolism. Oh my god. He's about to sword him with the sword, with his sword, which he unveiled viciously,
and it glows,
and it does it ever. But Sam goes, don't you recognise your Sam?
Yeah.
Oh, don't you? It's me. Don't you know your Sam? Your Sam, and it's like, wow. You know, it's there. You know, it's like it's really there. It's like he loves him.
Yeah.
You know, and he's playing on the fact that that he knows that Frodo loves him too. You know, it's just wonderful. You know, and it's like, and again, it's that thing of like, you know, in horrible situations like war and, you know, overcoming evil. You know, it's a reminder of like love. That is the emotion that really matters, isn't it? You know,
can love bloom on a battlefield?
I think it certainly can. You know, we've seen it in Lord of the Rings. Are there any other films that this happens, you know, between two war buddies, a blooming, loving relationship?
Not that I think of.
None really come to my mind
Yeah.
either, you know. But because none of that happens. Does any of that happen in Saving Private Ryan? I mean, I haven't seen Saving Private Ryan in so long.
Years, yeah.
You know, but you know, you get that stuff.
The only thing I can think of is Two War, but he started as 1917, but that goes very differently halfway through.
Ugh. It's I've not seen 1917.
Really good film.
Really good film.
Really, really good film.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, yeah.
My dad wanted to see it because it was a war film and he likes them. I wanted to see it because apparently it was one shot.
The one shot thing. Yeah.
Which had some blatant edits, but still, God, it is a great story. Good
Yeah.
film.
Cool. Yeah, I will want to watch it like one day.
I think it was the last film I saw in the cinema before everything
Really?
went to shit.
Christ, I can't remember what the last film I saw in the cinema. Well, before COVID and everything.
Still the last. I haven't been to the cinema since.
It might have been, it might have been The Rise of Skywalker. You know,
Really?
it might have been that. Yeah. That was unfortunate.
Depending on the timing, we'll save that rant till later. Because you said you had things to say about it, and I'm kind of curious.
God, I'm not sure I have the energy for it today. but like, you know, anyway, back to Two Towers. It was yeah, you see love there very much blossoming between, like, it's there, and I'm excited to see how it plays out in the last King.
Yeah.
In the Last King.
Return of the King.
Return of the King. I was gonna say the Last King.
The last film, Return of the King.
The last film, Return of the King. But no, yeah. So it was as one of, and of course, Two Towers, like very much like is in reference to the Tower of Saruman and the Tower of Sauron.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, again, the parallels between that and Empire Strikes Back. You know, with that film like being very much titled surrounding the enemy, surrounding the villains of the piece. You know,
Yeah.
because like as the title in Empire Strikes Back very much suggests, the Empire does strike back. The Empire
Oh my God, you're kind of right.
Yeah.
So the first one's A New Hope, Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Second one, Empire, Two Towers,
Yeah.
about enemy. Then the third one, Return of the King, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay.
It's basically Star Wars, but just in like a fantasy setting.
Or Star Wars, basically Lord of the Rings.
Or is Star Wars basically Lord of the Rings? It depends on which way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
But then again, Star Wars fantasy, but it's sci-fi.
science fiction
Science
fantasy.
fiction fantasy,
Yeah, exactly. Now, I mean, I've got no doubt that George Lucas. Did he read Tolkien's books?
Probably.
He probably did.
I mean, he was inspired by Japanese stuff, like obscure, probably
Like-
really obscure Japanese stuff.
Yeah,
back then.
The adventure serials as well back
Yeah.
in the day was massively like Errol Flynn, that sort of thing. You know, Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
You know, and as he said, the Japanese cinema, because like
Hidden Fortress and
yeah, because like George Lucas is actually quite a big studier of film. When you look at him, like he knows his film history and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to films. It's just mental when you see he's crafted towards making the the prequels. You know what I mean? And it's I think that someone made an argument that's saying like George Lucas isn't a very naturally talented filmmaker. He may know a lot about films and he may like know an approach on how to like make films. I mean, that being said, I've not seen American Graffiti.
Sam.
And apparently that's really good. I've seen the original Star Wars. I've seen all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, and of course he directed the first Star Wars film. He didn't direct 5 and 6. He didn't direct Empire and Return of the Jedi. But he was
Dropped a lid.
he dropped a lid, ladies and gentlemen, and others. He directed and wrote the prequels.
Yeah.
And when you look at them, they aren't really well-made films. You know, I think this is the thing. I mean, this is the thing from a filmmaking point of view. It's like from a casual point of view, I can understand the appreciation for like the love, the reappreciation for the prequels, but I really think that is just in reaction to the sequel trilogy. You know, people going like reacting to this new set of Star Wars films and they're not being what they wanted them to be, especially the middle one.
Yeah.
But I've already said what I think about that. And now they're going, well, do you know what? The prequels aren't actually that bad, are they, really?
Second renaissance of the prequels, yeah. It's like everyone loving Spider-Man 3 right now.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like, what, just because Tobey Maguire, and spoilers here, but oh my god, you haven't seen No Way Home, have you?
I've not yet, no.
I'll not say anything then.
Okay.
I'll not say a word then. But, you know, but it's like, you know, What? Just because nostalgia?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Does that change it? The fact that it's any good? I'm like, well, I've watched the prequels since then, and they're still not great. I mean,
yeah, it's mixing nostalgia plus new stuff. Like, if you tie them all together with the Clone Wars cartoon series and the better, because you have that kind of background to it.
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, like, look, there's nothing wrong with the ideas that he came up with. It's what's good about the prequel trilogy is it doesn't do what the sequel trilogy did to the nth degree, where it basically copied story structure and plot structure and basically reproduced them with a new lick of paint.
Yeah.
Arguably, except for The Last Jedi, which dared to do something very different, and that's why it's the best one out of the sequel trilogy, and probably arguably up there in the top 3 Star Wars films. I don't care. That's what I think, and I'm leaving it there.
We'll be back to that sooner or later.
We will, yes. But it's like, the prequels. George Lucas really wanted to do something different. He really wanted to do. Well, he said it's a soap opera, but in space, it's about a family. And that's what it really is about. I mean, the writing isn't good. The dialogue isn't good. Certain questionable things happen. I think there's some wasted opportunities in the prequels. I'm aware that we've veered off topic so badly.
Oh, we always do. It's fine.
But I'll come back to
it.
It.
About Star Wars as well.
I will come back to Two Towers. Just bear with me.
I will do.
There was a wasted opportunity with Darth Maul not being the main villain in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
There's a missed opportunity there. I think the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan is ill thought through. I don't think it comes across as a friendship. I think it comes across as immature pupil and student.
Yeah.
Which to some degree you need, because it perfectly sets a precedent of how Anakin was able to fall to the dark side. I also, and I don't know if this was George Lucas's intention, but to be honest, it doesn't do a great job of selling the Jedi as righteous and wise beings.
Yeah.
If anything, it's no surprise at all why Anakin turned to the dark side, because this is what happens when you suppress people's emotions.
Yeah.
And because like Jedis, man, they're bloody priests.
Yeah, true.
Or they're like Mormons. They're not allowed to fuck. They go out in packs of 2. And
apparently,
or Jehovah's Witnesses, rather, I should say.
I got sent something by our friend James. That's a new podcast, our friend James. Apparently, some law or something saying that they can have sex, but they're not allowed emotional attachment.
Right.
So, yeah, they can just go off and fuck and don't have to have any attachments.
Well, the problem is Anakin is very emotionally attached to Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
So that's but this is what happens. But even that doesn't make sense, because it's like, well, I suppose they're allowed to fuck because Jedi's need to reproduce, and I guess, but like, come on, it's ridiculous. It's like, we can't mourn the dead, we can't be sad, we can't be happy, we can't have families, we can't love anyone. We just got to devote ourselves to the Force. It's like, this is what happens when you suppress emotions. Shit.
That's why Kylo Ren was right about destroying both.
Exactly, and this is why it was a very good plot point.
Then we'll be back, and you will be back.
Exactly, like this is why it's a good plot point, and this is why it doesn't make any sense for them just to revert back on all that. It's
that's why I like most of games like say Knights of the Old Republic. They kind of blended between the two of them. You can fight light and dark. You can do both.
Well, it's more interesting,
Yeah.
It's like because like the Jedi are just it's like stale figures, and it's like, but you don't ever believe that Anakin and Obi-Wan are friends. It's like you hear about them having a friendship. You kind of see it in Episode 3.
Yeah.
And
it gets expanded upon obviously in
the Clone Wars.
Yes, of the stuff.
But that's not good enough.
Yeah. For just films.
Exactly, because not everyone. Because it's like, I've got to do homework in order to understand someone's relationship in a film.
To be fair, it took me about 2 years. It was only 2 years ago that I started watching all the animated stuff. It's when Disney Plus came out, actually.
Yeah,
I started watching all the animated stuff, and
it's great.
Yeah,
I'm not questioning that it's great stuff. It is great stuff. It's well written. It's it's well put together, and it's like in their actual characters, and you believe them. It's great, but it's not the films, though, is it?
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to watch the films. I mean, not everyone's going to watch those extended series, and you shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to play a Fortnite to hear that the Emperor came back.
What is that about? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's insane. Is this how bad we are at telling stories?
Yeah. Half the other stuff was on Wikipedia as well. If you didn't understand why Exegol had all this stuff,
Whoopee!
it was on Wikipedia.
Great. Oh, I'm glad I know that now. I'm glad I looked that up. You know, Christ. You know, but this is what people are used to now. We're just, films are just, and these franchises are just extended Wikipedia pages. You know, and it's like, that's not engaging with a story. That's not telling a story. It's just looking up information and going, oh, wow. You know, what's the next teaser to this next film? You know, by watching the same plot, the same cookie-cutter plot that doesn't affect anything. You know? But hey, Mark Ruffalo appeared in human form at the end of the clip after the credits. I wonder what that means for the future film. And that's the only thing that people are talking about when they go and see Shang-Chi. Because Shang-Chi is a piece of shit. Terrible, terrible film.
I haven't seen it yet.
Terrible film. Terrible film. I'm buzzing that it's the first Asian-led superhero film. That is great. But it doesn't change the fact that it's a shit film.
Fair. To be fair, I've got off Marvel quite a bit.
It's really bad. It's starting to lose its edge.
It's too many.
Too many. It's starting to lose its edge, and they need to do something.
And then you need to watch this thing to get to that thing to get to this
I
thing.
know. It's like Jesus Christ. It's like that. That's what I mean. That's what I hate. But anyway, it's like there's some elements of the story. The filmmaking in the prequels is terrible, because it's like the everyone's just on a green screen. Everyone's standing, talking to each other, or sitting talking to each other. There's nothing actually happening until like the final fight scenes at the end, which is the only thing that people remember from these films.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith is where they start to do something a bit, different. In the beginning of Revenge of the Sith is the best bit of the film. Well, that and the ending fight, I suppose. Like,
yeah.
And Anakin's fall and everything. And it's but it's just because you do see a friendship coming out. You do get the idea that they are mates and they have had a relationship with each other. It would have been great to see more of it and have a bit more of it built upon, but because then they don't see each other for the rest of the film, and then they appear at the end, where they have the fight, and which is why I have a soft spot for Revenge of the Sith, because it's very much Macbeth.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think I've mentioned this before.
I think you have.
Yeah. It's like Revenge of the Sith is just Macbeth, which is great, but it should be better. But it is still pretty good. So I'm wondering, but that's. They tried to be something different and tell a different story. And there are some great moments in the prequels. But, I still think they largely fall flat, as films in themselves in terms of storytelling, which I think a lot of people forget. I don't think that's been the case with Lord of the Rings.
This has been the Lord of the Rings podcast.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to stop just to say it.
Yes, so Two Towers. Interesting movie. To get back onto Two Towers, though, yes, there is a lot of similarities between that and Star Wars. Things start to fall apart in this movie. When you look at, for example, seeing how evil started to seep its way into the world of man as well. You see, like, this king, who's banished his son, unjustly, and Sirius Black, bloody, what's that Harry Potter character
Severus. He looks like Snape.
He looks like Snape, yeah, like drugged up Severus Snape.
Yeah, like Ozzy Osbourne's just behind him going,
yeah, literally. Ozzy Osbourne is literally there, just whispering evil thoughts into this guy's ear.
Yeah.
And then when Gandalf's back,
yeah,
great to see him.
He's white now.
He is Gandalf the White. Yes. Which because I kind of knew that he didn't die. Yeah,
because it's a 20-year-old film.
Yeah, exactly. Like we know that Gandalf hasn't kicked the bucket, but even when he's falling down a great way to start the movie, by the way.
Yeah, going back to the first.
Yeah,
like just a random scene, the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like sort of establishing that Gandalf really is this very incredibly tough character.
Yeah.
He really is quite heroic in the sense of, like, as he's falling to his death, he's still beating the shit out of that big fire thing.
Yeah.
I'm never going to remember its name.
The Balrog of Morgoth.
The Balrog of Morgoth. As he's beating the shit out of the Balrog of Morgoth, plummeting to his death.
Yeah.
Or supposedly.
He falls to the lowest chasm to the highest peak or something.
Crazy.
I can't remember what he says. Yeah, then they fall down there, then they end up on the peak of the highest mountain.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, it's absolutely mental. And of course, then he comes back as Gandalf the White.
Yeah.
But who gave him? What did he explain? Like, who gave him the authority to become that that character. You know what I mean?
It's kind of explained the Silmarillion, I think,
Yeah.
like in the book, because going off a bit of a tangent, Gandalf is sort of an angel.
Oh, I see.
It's the most equivalent I can think of,
Yeah.
from what I know.
Yeah.
He's pretty much an angel. He's been around for years and years and years,
Yeah.
and I think they regenerate. They become like a different color, because there's like different wizards which are the same kind of angel-y things. They have different
Sure.
names.
Sure.
So I think Saruman was supposed to be the white, because he's
Well, he
obviously
is
dressed white.
Yeah, he is Saruman.
And they call him the White
Whites.
Wizard when they're like, oh shit, it's a White Wizard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, well, I know that when he appears again and he says like, "I'm what Saruman should have been,"
Mm.
you know, like a good person basically. And of course, Saruman just isn't that.
Yeah.
You know, and it was lovely to see. I mean, Ian McKellen's just fantastic in this role.
Yeah.
You know, and when he's riding on horseback and when he appears on the mountain, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? It's just.
I just like when he like fabulously knocks off his cloak and just white comes.
I know, literally, it's like, hello, I'm fabulous, you know. And he exercises like like Saruman out of the king, and
Yeah.
you know, and that was great as well. It was like, you know, and on that it was, going into that whole war section. I feel like this was a wonderful little allegory for war. You know, I mean, like in the obvious sense, but what they mentioned, which I really appreciated, was when the other lad, who is he? Like the brother of Sean Bean.
Yes. Boromir and God, his name's gone out of my head. I know who you mean. Yes.
Boromir's brother.
Yeah.
When he picks up Sam and Frodo.
Is it Faramir?
Whoever he is.
Might be Faramir.
Faramir. Whoever he is. He. When they save them from those the lads who are about to kill them. He's like, and he says something along the lines of like, "Oh, we shouldn't." Was it Faramir?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like when Faramir's all like, this guy who we've just killed, you don't know who he is. What was his life? He might have had a family, a father, a mother, a loved one, someone who he has at home waiting for him, and now he's dead. So these people are now there without a son, they're without a brother, they're without a lover, they're without a husband. That this person's now gone, and this is something that we never think about in war. And that's the massive tragedy of war.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help anyone, regardless of who wins or not. People are always going to die. And I thought that was really, quite. It humanizes it a lot, really. Which I think can easily get forgotten about in these big fantasy films.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that. The battle at the end is tremendous.
Oh yeah, Helm's Deep battle is.
It's mental.
Yeah.
Like there's so much going on. And the orcs are relentless.
Yeah.
Like bloody hell. So many ladders, so many catapults, so many giant crossbows.
I think they developed a new CGI technique to get all the orcs like going up when they were like panning.
Yeah. It works though. I like
Yeah.
it's that those bits still look really good. And it's like, that's one thing that the film I think really does. But again, scale. I said in the first about Fellowship of the Ring, these movies do scale really well, and it does it even more so, I think. Well, just as much in this one as well. It's especially when you see like Saruman's tower.
Yeah.
In comparison to like everything that's around him and like the armies that's with him and stuff like that, and when they break down the trees. The trees.
I mean, that's the point, really, isn't it?
That is the point. Yeah, that's like bloody hell. Like, did we really need that bit with the trees?
Because they talk really slow.
I couldn't understand a word he was saying.
God, I can't even do it myself.
Literally, what was his name?
Treebeard.
Treebeard.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand a word that Treebeard was saying. Literally, because he talks so slowly, his voice is so garbled.
Yeah.
And like and all that, and I'm like, in Helen and Pippin are still in this fucking forest. What was going on? Like they kept cutting back to the sodden forest.
Yeah.
They're still with Treebeard. Treebeard's still not really doing anything. He's just walking through the forest, picking them up and putting them down in another area, and they're going like, we should go home. We can't go home. We've got to do something. We've got to get to Mount Doom or help Frodo or help the Fellowship or whatever. And it's like, come on, let's get on with it for God's sake. And then there's a bit like half, like in the second half, like when the trees are like talking to the elks, I should say, when they're all speaking to each other. Like, we've concluded that you're not orcs. It's like, yeah, no shit, they're orcs. They're not orcs. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, you needed a meeting, a committee to figure that out. It's like, they're obviously hobbits. You know, and like if they were orcs, they were. Anyway, that's not the point. But it's like it for me, that bit stopped the movie dead.
Yeah.
For me, and it just went on because it kept cutting back to this this bit in the forest with the elks, and it was just like, what are we doing here? You know, after Gandalf was saying like, oh, don't worry, Helen and Pippin are all right. But we'll never see them again. You know, those characters never go back to see them again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, what we're doing then? What are the purpose in the story? And I guess, the purpose is to show that war is really bad to the environment.
Yeah.
And that all the trees are gone.
Industry, capitalism, bad for the environment.
Yes, exactly. Industry and capitalism and industry. I mean, what's his face even says that? Saruman says,
he talks about
industry.
Yeah.
And he says, like, through the power of industry, we will we're going to do so many great things.
Yeah.
You know? We're going to take this place for ourselves, and with the old, against the CGI trees, which, they held up a bit better than Gollum. I think it's because you can get away with things that are like totally fantastical.
Yeah, more
like
human. It's just harder to.
I appreciate it. Must be so much harder.
Yeah.
To do that. But like watching the trees sort of like unleash their fury on like Saruman's tower was really cool.
Nature fights back.
Yeah, nature fights back. Literally, I thought that was really cool. I appreciate that a lot.
And they do destroy his tower with natural stuff, like they destroy the dam.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And that's one of the best things about it, I think, really, as well. Like these kind of like metaphors against like like war and nature and like anti-capitalist industrial stuff. And you see and they get that across with like the appearance, the orcs. You get a really good look at the orcs in this one.
Oh yeah, they're
awful.
Like they look like they could have come out of Jim Henson's like
literally like the ones that like and the
rolls.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. And like the bit where like they want to eat Helen and Pippin.
Yeah. And
they're like, oh, just one bit, and then they end up killing like the other fella who wanted to eat them, and then they
just run at him and
just literally
guts flying.
Literally, that's crazy. I was like, fucking hell, like they just devour him.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
And then they just eat their friend. Like it's well, not even call each other friends, really. I suppose.
I think the Uruks and Orcs, they're not friends. They're just kind of like
Urks.
Uruk.
Gurks.
Uruk. U-K?
Uruks.
Yeah.
Alright, the Uruks and the Orcs.
Urukai. Yeah, the Uruks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, actually, they mentioned it. There was like a bit of a difference appearance-wise.
Apparently the Fallen Elves or something, the Uruks. I think it mentions that in that film, actually. When
the Dark Elves, basically.
So either that one or the last one. Do you know the guy, the Urukai they make in the last one?
Yeah.
I think they mentioned that like it's elves who are like they're corrupted or something like that, and that's what they turn into.
Yeah,
something like that.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, like that's kind of like another like because it draws a lot on Norse mythology.
Yeah.
What's it called? Lord of the Rings. But like that kind of makes sense because there's a
dark elves
and the light elves in Norse mythology, and of course you get the light elves, which are very clearly Hugo Weaving and Orlando Bloom, like Legolas and Liv Tyler's character and all that. But of course the Uruks being the Dark Elves, very much, but obviously just given a different name and treated a bit differently, and stuff. Which I thought that was really cool, and the practical effects are fantastic. Like the makeup looks stellar.
Yeah.
And it still holds up, and it still looks like better than most like makeup jobs today. Really, outstanding production value in these movies, and that's always a given though. With this sort of thing. But it's like, this is one thing that I was thinking of. It's like it's difficult when you get really good practical effects versus CGI that is reaching a bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
So, and I feel this way about Gollum when I was watching it, and I was thinking, because you see Gollum, who's like a very noticeable CGI character, and obviously he probably wouldn't have been by 2002 standards,
Yeah, so I think by like 2002 standards, like, yeah, look good. And I think what helps a lot is like he was actually there. It's one of like
Yeah.
CGI. He was on the set. He was there interacting. So it
Yeah.
doesn't seem off because he's actually being talked to. Like he's actually talking back.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I've got, that's the thing. It is objectively a massive leap forward in that in that development of like creating CGI characters and
Yeah.
like artificial elements of filmmaking that aren't there. So, and yes, absolutely, like Andy Serkis was physically there, like in the motion capture, like doing all that stuff, which I think is tremendous.
Yeah.
Which is why I think he should have been considered for something, because like his performance is just wonderful.
He won a Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actor, but I don't know what a Saturn Award
What
is.
the hell is a Saturn Award?
An MTV 2003 award.
Oh, wow. Okay, the true award that everybody wants.
Yeah.
But it's like it's kind of changed my opinion on Andy Serkis a little bit, because it's like I'm not a huge fan of him as an actor.
Yeah.
I love him when he's doing his performance capture roles. Like I think he's tremendous as Gollum. I think he's great as
He was King Kong, wasn't
as King Kong.
he? And in Planet of the Apes, he was
Yeah.
most of the monkeys.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's fantastic. And I also think he was really good as Snoke.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't like him that much as an ordinary actor.
I think Gollum made his career as an actor. I think after that,
Yeah.
people like he can do all these like weird stuff. We'll have him in stuff.
We'll have him in stuff, yeah, because like I don't think he's. I mean, he's fine in like the Marvel films as Claw. I think he's fine.
Yeah.
I think because I know he's playing Alfred in the new Batman film.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. So in The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, which comes out on March the 3rd, I think.
Which Batman do you want to watch? Batman, The Dark Knight, or The Batman?
Or Batman and Robin, Batman Forever,
Batman.
Batman Returns, Batman vs Superman,
Or Batman Begins,
or Batman Begins. Yes,
which has nothing to do with Batman.
No, it's just he begins here.
And The Batman.
The Batman. Yes. So it's starring in The Batman, which
Rob Battenbat.
Robert Battenbat.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson
Yes.
is the new Batman and Bruce Wayne. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and Paul Dano as the Riddler. Who's playing Commissioner Gordon? I
cannot remember.
Not Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So you're gonna have to Google it.
Right, keep on talking.
Because
phone
because
somewhere.
he's a really good actor, and I can't remember his name. I will.
Phone's over there.
Yes.
Got it.
He's got it. Never mind. He's back in the seat, ladies and gents, and everybody else. I think I can't remember his name, but he's fantastic. He's a really good actor. I've seen him in other stuff. But yeah, and Paul Dano was the Riddler. I've mentioned that before. But yeah, Andy Serkis is playing Alfred, and I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure I see him as Alfred at all. I'm sure like they're leaning more towards like that, sort of like Cockney fella about town. You know what I mean?
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. I knew it was a Jeffrey. Jeffrey Wright. Yeah, he's the new Gordon, which I think is great casting. But yes, Andy Serkis is Alfred, and I'm sure, as I said, they're leaning more towards that like that Cockney, hard ass sensibility, a bit like he was Sean Pertwee,
Right.
who played him in Gotham. They're leaning more towards like that.
I never saw Gotham.
It wasn't great. It was fine. I only watched like the first 2 seasons or something like that. I'm not sure. But it was okay. But yeah, I think they're leaning more towards the whole Sean Pertwee thing, where he's like a really like hard-nosed Cockney fella, a little bit like Michael Caine, but Michael Caine was just Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Playing Alfred was fantastic. Jeremy Irons I thought was tremendous as Alfred. Thought absolutely fantastic in the role. But yeah, so like I don't know. I'll reserve judgment until I watch the film. The film looks fantastic, by the way. Like, have you seen any of the trailers?
I saw one of the trailers. Then I saw what Riddler looks like, which is
Odd.
Odd.
It is odd.
Yeah.
But because I think they're leaning more to, which I've been saying this for years, they should treat the Riddler as like a Jigsaw-esque serial killer.
Yeah, because that's what he kind of.
Because that's what he kind of is, really, you know. And it's like, so that's what because it looks very much like Seven.
Yeah.
This movie, it's like proper neo noir.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. I think it's a great tone to go down. And so they're treating the Riddler very much like this really dark serial killer fella, which I think is a great direction to take the character.
Do you reckon the next reboot it'll go back to being camp? Because I would love to see him on Camp Batman.
Well, you know, it could do.
What would that be called? Because we've got the Batman. It's Bruce Wayne as Batman.
Yeah, Batman. Here he is again. Just or something like that.
Oh, saying that the last Camp Batman film was a Lego.
Well, yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Lego's a good one.
So we've already had the modern Camp Batman, which is as you said, Lego Batman, which I still need to see.
It's really good. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like a love letter to Batman.
Yeah, I have heard that. And I really do want to see it. It looks fantastic. But yeah, Andy Serkis. I think I will reserve my judgment until I see him in the Batman.
Yeah.
But I think I hope he's a good Alfred. But watching this film made me soften my opinion on him. I think he is quite a talented man.
Yeah.
You know, because like the work that he does here is just great. But yeah, it was like I remember as well thinking that you know it was when I said before like it's very much a relationship movie. You really see Aragorn sort of willing himself on here, you know, and he's sort of like, I mean, he almost dies for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know?
And then he comes back in a spectacular fashion. Just sexy ass comes through the door, just and everyone's just like, oh shit.
Hello everyone.
I'm back.
I'm back. Yeah.
We're saying about relationships though, the best relationship.
Legolas and Gimli.
Yes.
Yeah, Legolas and Gimli's relationship just blossoms in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was going to say, not only do you see them like as a trio.
Yeah.
You know, which is a fantastic metaphor for races living together in harmony.
Yeah.
Like dwarf, elves,
races, yeah.
and man, sort of coming together and like really being a great team. You see the relationship, as we're saying there, really blossom between Gimli and Legolas.
Who Gimli hates elves. And
yeah.
And Legolas doesn't really like.
He doesn't really like dwarves, exactly. But then you see that because they're not meant to like each other as races, you know. But it's like, traditionally, as we're saying, as you said there. But you see, you know, they get on with each other really well because the more time they spend with each other, the battles they share with each other, and you know they develop this really brotherly relationship, which I think is fantastic. And it's like even the bit where like Gimli's like, we picked a really bad spot. What's going on? I can't see. And Legolas is like, would you like me to lift you or would you like me to find a box? No. It was would you like me to describe it to you or would you like me to find you a box? And Gimli just looks at it and then just starts to laugh. And I thought that's lovely. I thought that's great. You know. And
the little competition they have.
And they have and the competition they have with each other. It's like, well, I'm on 42, and then he's like, well, I've 43, and then he fires because he's sitting on like a corpse, and he just fires the arrow at him. He's like, what? He's already dead. He's like, Tom twitching. That's because he's got an axe in his face, and he yanked it out, and his body started twitching anymore. It's like, 'cause, you know, come on, man. I thought, excuse me, I thought that was fantastic.
And the best line, toss me.
Toss me. Yes.
But don't tell the elf.
Yeah. I forgot about that so much. It's like you just see him looking over and he's like, I can't make the gap.
It's a long jump.
It is a long jump, like you're gonna have to toss me. Oh, it's brilliant. It was so good.
Great.
But like that's the thing as well. You say like the very like the bravery that comes out with from Gimli. I thought was quite fantastic. And you know he's a very honourable character as well. You know he's kind. He's pretty much like kind to everyone. He's a very jovial character. And Legolas is just an absolute like he's a unit, isn't he?
Yeah. Like
bloody hell. Like when he flew down, bloody elf.
Bloody elf.
When
he skateboards down, he's
literally when he's flying down the stairs on that shield. I was just like, oh, this is great. This, you know, that was one element of the story I think that I really liked about it because it separates. It makes you care about all of the characters.
Yeah.
And I think a very good way of doing that is the fact that Frodo and Sam are separated from Aragorn and Gandalf and the rest of them for all of the film. The two of them never cross paths. And I think that was a really fantastic decision because the film is saying to you that yes, Frodo, this is Frodo's journey. He is in essence the protagonist, but these characters are also just as important.
These are the protagonists as well.
These are also the protagonists.
It gives you have to care about like how many people in the Fellowship? It's probably like 8 now since Boromir.
Yeah, exactly.
You care about all 8.
Yeah, you have to care about them, because it's saying that they are just as important. Like their story is just as vital as what's going on the quest to Mount Doom.
Yeah.
And it's Aragorn's Aragorn's story as well is vitally important. It's like he is destined to become the King of Man. And you have to be invested in what's going on with him, because when he dies, it's everyone's gutted.
Yeah,
everyone's like, holy shit, Aragorn's dead, and it's like, and Legolas is gutted, and Gimli's gutted, and that woman who clearly fancies Aragorn, is gutted as well. He makes the awful stew, which I found quite funny. But having all said that, in the Two Towers is. The Two Towers is a lot more action packed.
Yeah.
The Two Towers shows the villains in a lot more of a threatening light. They destroy the forest. They kill a lot of people. They're very gruesome. They're very relentless. And it makes you feel like Saruman and Sauron are threats to legitimately be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And it develops the characters a lot more. You see Frodo's weakness, you see his doubts, you see Sam's love for Frodo blossom even more, and also the fact that Sam really steps up to the mark here and is there for his friend and pulls his friend back from the darkness.
Yeah, he's not a dead weight.
No, he's not a dead weight. He has purpose. He has character. He's an actual reason to be in the story.
Yeah,
which is great. It shows the loss of war and the pain of war. Losing a son, losing, a loved one and stuff. You see that with the king and his son. He says, "Oh, your son's dead." Carl Urban's in this movie as well.
Yes, Carl Urban.
Bloody hell! I was like, "Fucking Carl Urban." What the hell? It's amazing. And Ozzy Osbourne, is that Stellan Skarsgård or is that someone else?
Let's have a look. Keep on talking and all.
Because initially I thought it was Stellan Skarsgård, and then I thought, no, I don't think it is.
Can't remember
for
now.
some reason.
I'm just gonna.
But it shows a lot of, it grounds things a lot more. So, in theory, this movie was maybe better than the first one. I'm not sure.
Brad Dourif?
Oh, well, it's not Stellan Skarsgård then. It's alright. I have no idea who that is.
I think he's Chucky.
Oh!
I think he was the voice of the original Chucky, by the looks of it, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I never knew that.
Yeah, by the looks of it.
Oh, that's tremendous then.
The movie credits are coming up are just saying Chucky and Child's Player for the most part. So
the
yeah,
only thing he's done. Well, that's fair enough. That's pretty cool. But yeah, and maybe in theory it's a better movie. I don't know.
I did ask my partner. I did ask Sash. Her favourite.
This one's her favourite.
Yes.
Fair. I can understand that. Because it does raise the stakes a bit more. It makes things feel a bit more serious. It makes things feel a bit more like, oh shit, really could go down here if the villains win. Yeah. This won't be good. I don't know though. There was still something about it that made me kind of not enjoy it as much as the first one. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I really don't know what it is.
Maybe it's not as much world building.
Maybe it's because the story kind of doesn't really advance. Really?
Yeah, it's a lot of battles. The midway point of like,
need
to fight back until.
It felt very midway. It felt like, okay, we've reached a point where, because really you could sum up Two Towers by saying Gandalf's not dead. There's a big battle between the elves and man and the orcs, and Frodo and Sam are still on that quest to Mount Doom, and they acquire Gollum. Yeah. At the beginning of the movie, they're still on a quest. By the end of the movie, they're still on a quest. And by the end of the movie as well, with Aragorn and everything, the trees have emerged and they've sort of destroyed, in essence, the orc army. But no doubt that will not be carried over into the next movie, I'm presuming. But I'll not say anything more. But it's like, things didn't really advance very much in terms of story, which is why I said it was a character and relationship.
It's a very big character.
It's a themes, character, and relationships movie.
Yeah.
Which, and I think the purpose of Two Towers is very much for you to get to know your characters more. Which
until the next bit where.
Yeah, until the next big story bit, and I get that, and I think that's really important, and I do usually like that sort of thing. But for me, it's
just something.
Yeah, but it's like it just felt like it dragged a lot more. This one, there's a lot of starty stuff. And I don't know if it's just because I was watching the extended.
Might be extended stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the stuff with the trees, man. Like, holy shit.
That's in the film, but there's probably added more in the extended stuff. There is the part where they're like having the council and they're like, "Yep, we decided you're not."
Yeah, we decided you're not orcs. I'm like, why is this in here? You know what I mean? Like, what is the point in this?
I think they're just meant to show like people, well, in war, like indecision people making things worse as well.
True. I get that, but. I don't know. It just, like, from a story point of view, it just sort of stopped the movie dead in its tracks. And
yeah,
I'm like,
it does, and I think it's a point that it does, but at the same time, I get what you mean. Like, yeah,
there is a point to it. I'm sure there is, but it's like,
and a point where it stops dead in the tracks. But yeah, it kind of
exactly. But yeah, I was just like, it stops things from moving forward, and I'm just like, I'm more engaged in this because that's the thing. I really like the story. I think I'm really engaged in it, and. For me, I feel like it was sort of lacking on that front a little bit. I kind of came away from it going, I felt a little bit exhausted by it, and I don't know, it was like, there wasn't enough for me in terms of, there wasn't as much gripping me as like the first one was.
Yeah.
I fully acknowledge its merits, and I think it's not a bad film by any means, because I think a lot of the stuff I've talked about is a testament to how good it is. Again, really well made. Like, holy shit, it's a filmmaking marvel as well, especially for the time in terms of like special effects and practical effects and things like that, and CGI with Gollum and everything. I think that's absolutely fantastic. But like, from a story point of view, it kind of like it was lacking a little bit for me. I feel like it could have gone a bit further. But I understand though that it is the midpoint in a massive story. And I feel like that's going to get rectified in the third film. So yeah, that is kind of where I'm at with it, really. Yeah.
We'll talk some random trivia bits about it.
Go on then.
You missed some stuff I was going to say when it came through.
Cool. So, I'm sure I did. I mean, this is a 4-hour movie that I watched.
So I'd be remiss to say, because this is just a meme now. So when they're investigating Helen and Pippin's death. And they're looking about. And
Merry and Pippin's death.
Aragorn kicks the helmet and just screams bloody hell. Like, he just screams like, ah! Collapses to the floor.
Who did this?
Aragorn. He kicks the helmet and he just screams.
Oh yes, he does. Yes, I've just remembered.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen broke his foot on the helmet.
Really?
Yeah, it was a real scream.
Was it actually?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Shit.
It's like it became a meme now. Everyone says that at that point in the film. Like, you just did that. And
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Real scream because he fucking hurt
his foot. Oh, like busted his foot.
And the actor for Gimli, John Rhys Davies.
Yes.
All the stunt people, like all the orcs and stuff, said, "You don't have to hit us. Like you don't have to go full whack. You can just like do stuff and someone will just like
react.
Reactive thing." Nah, he went full whack.
Really? Like, you really whacked them?
Yeah, he went full whack. But he said this, like, he can, but it's fine if you don't. He was like,
no, fuck that. I'm getting into this shit,
And apparently,
that's great.
He's missing a finger. Like, John Rhys Davies himself is missing a finger, so he has a prosthetic.
Oh, really?
And they were doing something on set, and he just went to Peter Jackson, to just kind of cut. He just
took his finger off.
I think it's on the it's probably on YouTube. I think it might be on them special editions.
It
actually,
probably is. I mean, there's so much of those. Again, another
so much stuff.
It's the same as the Fellowship of the Ring, especially extended edition you gave me with 2 discs worth of special features. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Literally fantastic. But yeah, I never knew that. I never knew that he busted. I never knew that. I never knew that about the dwarf as well. Like, what was his character's name?
Gimli.
The actor's name? Sorry?
John Rhys Davies.
John Rhys Davies, yeah. Fantastic actor. And is he a dwarf in real life?
No, I think he's quite tall.
He's quite tall.
Yeah. Just one of these people, like, yeah. You can see sometimes this animation, like, he's definitely CGI'd, like, slightly smaller.
Yeah.
But yeah, great film.
Yeah. No, it is. A great film.
Trying to think of stuff now. There's a few memes came out of this, which is they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, which I'm going to show you after this. It's
Yeah.
classic
Right.
meme. This is from like, fuck, I think it's a really early like 2006 meme.
God, when the memes were just being created.
And
you know?
potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
That's the time when Gollum asks Sam to give it to him raw. And regular.
Oh dear God. God. Yeah, there was a lot of. Yeah, now that I think about it, actually, there's a lot of innuendos.
Yeah.
Just a lot of sexual tension there between Gollum and Sam and Frodo. More so than there needs to be, I think. Really, I mean, there's already a lot of tension there, but we're adding more to it with this weird CGI creature. He gets beaten up all the time.
Yeah.
Poor Gollum, honestly. Justice for Gollum. I am a Gollum apologist.
Yeah.
I will firmly own that title.
Can't wait to see next week if I need to come back. You're either going to be like yes or no.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how I feel. But I did enjoy. I did enjoy Two Towers.
Yeah.
Not as much as the first one. For the reasons that I explained. It didn't grab me as much. I think it's interesting that your partner Sash thinks it's the best one.
But I
Or it's
think
her favourite one, rather.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think again because you're saying there's a character film one. Like I think it's just that. She
It
loves
is,
all the
yeah.
characters. It's a very character driven.
It is very character driven, and I think that is essential in like this kind of franchise because it humanizes them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It brings them down to earth, down to Middle Earth, shall we say? But I am excited to see what happens next,
Yeah. Which will be next week's episode.
which will be the Return of the King.
Yes.
God,
And the return of us next week.
yes, absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I think that's about it for now.
It was interesting. We mentioned the trivia there as well.
Yeah.
Because I always enjoy this. I mean, I think that should encourage me to watch the special features and the behind the scenes of a lot of these movies. From like all of Lord of the Rings actually. Because I think that might make me appreciate it a lot more. Because it often does with these films.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Until next time.
Next time, Return the King and Return of Us.
Yes. Farewell.
The final in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh yes, absolutely. You better not make. I refuse to watch The Hobbit.
Yeah, nah, screw that. I wouldn't even get you to watch that.
Thank you very much. Yes. But yes, next week, Return of the King
Yes.
and Return of Lee and John.
Yeah.